So I'm here in Davos with a man called Jamar Montgomery. Now, the name Jamar Montgomery probably won't mean much to Brits or even actually many Americans. You are, and we'll get to it in a moment, probably known as something else. But firstly, just tell me who you are and why you're here.
Absolutely. So my name is Jamar Montgomery. My students call me Dr. Jamar Montgomery. I used to teach political science at Southern University in Shreveport. Started college at 10 years old and went full-time at 14, graduated with my Bachelor's in Mechanical Engineering at 19, went to work for the U.S. Navy for a number of years, then went to law school while I was there, got my MBA, taught political science, like I said, at Southern University, Shreveport. I was a children's public defender, so I was defending children who had gotten in trouble. Then I ran for office in 2020 as an independent candidate. So now I'm here in Davos, making connections internationally, helping out a few governments that are having some issues. I'm the person that people call when they have problems or they need to see their way through to a particular goal.
Well, you sound, with your credentials and, just told you, you're a lovely guy. Like, you actually seem like somebody who should definitely be in office. Are you thinking of running again?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking at 2026 to run again. And there's a number of seats that I'm looking at, and I'm looking at where can I have the greatest impact and also wield the greatest influence as well. So one of the major areas where is a passion of mine is education, particularly with children. It is better if you educate children to become more informed and involved citizens than it is to try to convince adults who have the burdens of life to make major changes in their behavior that is actually going to make their lives better.
So sticking with politics, we're in an election year.
Yes.
So I think it's kind of fair to make an assessment of both this term and the previous term. Who do you think was better for both America and the rest of the world?
Trump. President Trump.
Got there before I could even finish the question. Yeah, I like it.
President Trump. There are those that it really depends on what context in which you're looking at. There are people who have been satisfied with Biden's progress. I have not. I don't have a dog in the Trump-Biden fight. In fact, people looked at me crazy when I told them that I voted for Kanye. So the first election where I got to vote for myself, I also voted for Kanye. And people looked at me crazy and they asked why. And I said, well, I have Mr. Mass Deportation, President Trump, or Mr. Mass Incarceration, President Biden. And that for me, on a principle basis, could not find myself voting for either president. So yeah.
Well, that brings me on excellently to the next bit. You're actually probably more commonly known as the mysterious guest. So you had dinner with Trump and Kanye and Nick Fuentes. We'll stay away from that bit.
But absolutely.
There's another gentleman named Jamar Montgomery that was with us. He's an engineer at Boeing, and
Absolutely.
Tell me about that evening and how it came about.
It was an incredible evening. Everything kind of happened overnight, to tell you the truth. I had received a call from Kanye to help him with his school. It was in crisis at the time, and to develop a recovery plan for the school. And he found out about my political career and invited me to come with him as an advisor to his meeting with Trump. During that time, Kanye was looking at another presidential run and needed people with actual serious political chops to kind of advise him through that process. It seems as if he went into a different direction, but having that dinner was incredible, to be with the president and to talk with him. And one of the jokes was, President Trump asked me, he was like, "Oh, so you ran for office?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Democrat or Republican?" I said, "I ran as an independent." And Kanye was like, "Oh, but he's got leftist tendencies." So I looked at Kanye and I'm like,
cut the in. No, I'm joking.
I'm like Kanye. I'm like, looked at him and he's like, "Well, how'd you do?" I said, "I got more votes than Kanye." and so we continued on the dinner, and it was good. It was a good dinner. It was eye-opening in terms of what you see on Trump in television versus meeting him in person, and President Trump has been a pop culture figure, particularly in African American culture, for the last 30 years. And so to see him run as president brought a different perspective as to someone who we know is famous politically versus someone who is famous in pop culture. Trump understands media better than any politician ever could. And to see how he manipulates the media and is able to craft a message that connects with people is part of his success. It's been part of his success in being able to speak plainly to people.
So let's go on to Kanye, because you've just kind of, all the questions I was about to ask about Trump, you kind of just gave me in one, which is brilliant. But let's talk about Kanye, because it's been an interesting ride for him in the media. I was about to say as of late, but actually just for a few years now.
Yes.
You know him personally, and you can see things the general public can't. What is he like? And talk to me about this, you could say, his strange interactions with media of recent years. What can you tell me?
He is the nicest, most generous person that you ever meet. Very honest about his feelings and very transparent about his feelings. One of the things that he would really benefit from is keeping people who can translate for him around, and really having people who actually have his best interests at heart around him more. I think that would be much better for him, and particularly it's difficult for him because everyone called him crazy, and then he said, okay, well, if I'm crazy, how did I make $1 billion? So you're going to say I'm crazy and I'm going to make $1 billion, or I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm a billionaire? So that shines a light onto how we feel about wealthy people. We think that wealthy people are particularly smart.
Or crazy.
Or crazy, right? Or crazy. And what it comes down to is a laser focus on a particular goal. And whenever he laser focuses on a particular goal, he is very successful. But with highly gifted people like himself, his brain goes in 1,000 different directions, and being able to wrangle it on a particular focus is where his superpower really is.
People have talked about him possibly, suffering from MK Ultra. Not everyone will, I recommend anyone who doesn't know about that goes and looks it up. Do you think something has gone on there where something's got a grip of him?
Well, there's a book called Medical Apartheid, and it talks about how the medical industry has experimented on African Americans over the years since the time of slavery, and before, even during slavery. So to see how medication is particularly used against black children in the educational system in America, black boys are often misdiagnosed with ADHD and are given medication when all they really need is more engaging education than the current structure that we have right now in the current paradigm. So whenever I see people that are being medicated, I'm always a little weary because there's a lot of side effects that come with those medications. So in Kanye's particular case, his statement was clear. But you often hear this with people who have been diagnosed with mental challenges. I'll say that, mental illness or mental challenges, that they don't like the way the medication makes them feel. So I don't know about MK Ultra, but I definitely know that there is a history of medical experimentation and doctors. It's a science, but it's also a practice. And just because one doctor prescribes it to you doesn't mean that it's the best thing for you.
Well, Jamar, thank you very much. Final question.
Absolutely.
2024, who wins?
Trump. President Trump.
Well, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Where can people find your stuff?
You can find me at drjamarmontgomery.com, DRJAMAR Montgomery, MONTGOMERY.com, Dr. Jamar Montgomery on Instagram, Jamar Doc Montgomery on LinkedIn, and yes, by the way, J Montgomery watches. I make my own watches as well.
I don't. Cheers, Jamar. Thank you very much.
Meeting you, Colin.
Thank you.
Absolutely.